how do you deal with problem players?
Well, I mean, it depends on the problem, honestly.
Yeah.
Problem players. I'm trying to think like the last time I really had like a, I guess a problem. I had a game where it's supposed to be 18 and up, and that's what it's listed as.
Hmm.
And so this kid showed up and with his mom,
Oh,
and his mom was
fun.
like, "Well, I signed him up and as me, but it's really for him, and he's really only 13." So,
It's
uh,
funny.
and I was like, and I just was like, "All right, you're here." And I mean, my dungeons don't. I mean, my adventures aren't necessarily explicit.
Yes.
This was hilariously a like it was totally a hit job on a long story, but it was like the cat wizards had put a hit on this guy because he got somebody else killed and blah blah blah. And it was like, of course, the story is not as you know is not as basic as it seems because of course they get involved and they realize that there's this demon and blah blah blah.
Yeah, something
But
else going on.
but I was like, it's kind of a heist. It's kind of a actual like they're actually going to kill this guy. So it's not really like the nicest game in the world, but it's not like they're at the they're
Not like they're running a
they're not
brothel
doing it
or
at the
something.
strip club. They were
Yeah.
actually doing it at a casino, but it was not actually a strip club.
Yeah.
So so I was like, all right, fine, let's just do this. And then he was the littlest murder hobo, and I was like, although this game is designed, the scenario is an actual hit. Like they are actually, you cannot run into the casino and stab everybody because they have defenses for that. And
Because you will
so
die.
yeah, so it was just like, oh, it was pretty messy. I turned it around though, and kind of like the rest of the players, I was like, before he did anything, I was just like, this is a dangerous place. The entire city is dangerous. There's no jail. Why? Because they just kill you. That is literally the law of the land. Is like either people don't care or they'll just kill you. There's no prison. There's no, oh, he went to jail for that. No, they just go pam, and they'll just put you down. And so I kind of like made sure that he understood that as a character, that it's like we don't even have to roll the situation. If you mess up really bad, you're dead, and
Yeah.
that's the end of the scenario for you.
Yeah.
So I kind of cut it. I mean, it was a problematic for the first 15 minutes of the campaign, and then I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna be a problem. Let me give you a little backstory. You're gonna die if you don't stop trying to kill everybody.
Yeah.
And
That's a common thing with new people in general. I feel like
yeah, yeah.
they just go around and do stupid stuff.
And again, that's usually why I play adult games. I just say 18 and up, please, because then we can cuss, we can, you know, I won't stop the characters from going to the strip club, uh,
Yeah.
if there's a strip club in the world.
If it
But
exists.
so they can do that if they want.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so man, problem players. It really, I mean, that's such a wide open question though, because there are so many types of problems that aren't
Yes.
necessarily, a lot of times, I guess honestly, the biggest problem that any serious player is just that they're not enjoying the scenario that you have because they're not that kind of player.
Mm.
And that's something that could be brought up well in advance of ever playing, is saying, this is the scenario that we're doing. Obviously, if you are being paid to be a dungeon master, you're going to run the campaign that, or game, one shot, whatever it is, that you have been asked to run.
Yes.
So that's the, this should already be clear. If you're running a one shot and you're saying, okay, this is going to be a dungeon delve. It's a one shot. You have 4.5 hours. You're not wandering around the town just trying to find the adventure. You start,
Yes.
you start at the, you start after the first shot has already been
Yes.
fired.
You're already in the dungeon. Especially a one shot. You gotta like you don't have time for all that fiddling around.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
it's
already there.
started.
Like,
yeah.
You're already in the dungeon by the time you
Exactly.
really start. And before you start playing, because otherwise, unless you want to run around the town, is that the adventure that you wanted to run? Great, let's do that. I have plenty of things to do.
Well, then it's an urban adventure, and it's still, though, you only can have like 2 encounters really in a one shot, and that's pretty much
Sure,
it.
yeah. I mean, in a 4.5 hour game, you're only going to run so much,
Yeah.
So honestly, I think a lot of problems can be dealt with communication before the game ever starts.
Yeah.
Knowing what you're offering. You're only doing one scenario, so it's you should know how much combat is involved.
Yes.
Or if it's a role play situation where
Yes.
everyone's going to be role playing, there might be a little combat if it happens, but otherwise it's delving into a city. That's the adventure.
Well, you're still gonna have. Yeah, I think it was like you can. I think have up to maximum 3 encounters, and it could be a role playing encounter or a battle encounter. But like it's a one shot in one session, most you're ever gonna do is like 3 encounters. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, and you're not gonna do. Yeah, I mean, and they can't all be big ones either. You gotta speed that thing
Well,
up.
I'm saying the maximum. A lot of times it's more like 2.
Yeah. I would usually. I usually end up with the first combat is things are serious, and then there's a bunch of role playing, maybe some traps, and then there's something at the end.
Yeah.
So problem players. Yeah, I hate to say I need more information, but
yes.
Well,
There's specifics. I think a lot of it is people don't understand the different kinds of players, so they don't know how to deal with them either. Like how to deal with the rules lawyer. A lot of people have complaints about rules lawyers. I never have a problem. I love rules lawyers. Like, makes my game easier because I can say, okay, you're responsible for the rules. Here's the rules I'm using. Now you can watch it, make sure they always get used. And believe me, they shut up after that. Like they're,
right.
I mean, they help. I say, I actually need your help. Calculate it for me. But they never jump out of turn and say, you can't do this, you can't do that.
Right.
Because I tell them exactly up front, these are the rules we're using. We're not using any of the rules. And so they don't even bother because they know that you're not using.
And I have a bunch of my own thing. I have a bunch of different rules for various things, but I let everybody know those are the rules that I have a whole different thing for getting knocked unconscious. And I don't use the 3 dice if you're, dead, and I think it's boring, but that's just me. And so, I mean, rules lawyers, you give them a job. You tell them, make sure you let me know when that spell runs out. Oh, if it's 7 rounds, they will tell you on round 7.
Yes.
And have the time of their life telling you on round 7 when that spell runs out.
And they'll love the game, and you'll have no problems from them.
Right. And I like to just get as much information as possible. If everyone goes in having expectations of what kind of scenario it's going to be, I don't really have too many problem characters. So
yeah, it's all about gauging the people too. All right, then the next question: how do you decide on pricing?
Oof. My current thing is basically let's see, what is it? It's kind of a set thing where it's like it's $10 an hour per person. That is basically let's see, what group of 5, right? For the 4-hour scenario, that's $200, right? Mm-hmm. So but there's got to be a minimum, obviously, for amount of stuff that you do. And so there's a minimum charge, and then and again, are we talking about, oh my gosh, are we talking about me packing up all my gear?
Well, I guess it's more like in general, if you're DMing in person, not necessarily going to another to a castle. Obviously, if you're doing that, you're gonna have to tour guide all the stuff you're talking about. Like,
Oh yeah, no. But
significantly more
just
expensive.
are you driving an hour? Are you
Oh
driving
yeah,
2 hours? Are you driving
yeah.
4 hours?
Are you online?
Right. Because if you're online at your house, well, that's a little easier, I guess. So,
Yeah,
um, but again, I mean, I actually don't do too many of those gigs.
yeah.
Those are different
That's
style. So,
yes.
um,
All right.
yeah,
That's fine. I'll skip the stuff about that. 'Cause you are doing it a bit differently,
yeah.
but it's a smart way to do it. Let's see. Um, I'm trying to see something that's applicable to you. What kind of person? Yeah, what kind of people actually pay for you to DM? Like, who are these
What
people?
kind of people? Well, yeah. So for me, mostly it's the people who are encouraged to come on a tour with me, and so they're mostly people that already know me. They've watched me do a comedy juggling show, and they're like, okay, with that kind of sense of humor, that guy's got to be hilarious to play with, and they're usually right. So,
Yeah.
so yeah. I mean, those are the people that are encouraged to play with me because they know my personality. Now, sure, obviously, because I'm doing shows and I'm seen in public, things like that, obviously people already know something about me. But I would say that the best way to, I mean, that's the way that you're going to get people excited to play with you. They don't know you. If they don't know you, then why are they going to be excited to play with you? I
Mm,
would say, I'm just going to throw out some wacky random business thing. And it's like, if you are going to be a professional, maybe just throw your games up on Twitch so that people can see what they're getting into.
yep.
And sure, might not be the most exciting game ever because you don't have, because
You don't.
they're not there to be entertaining to a
Yes.
television show.
Because you don't have
That's not their
professional
job.
voice actors
Right.
acting
And
as your players.
that's not your job,
Yes.
but
They can see what
you
it's
can
like.
definitely get a handle of what they can expect. And
Yes.
if they can expect a fun, cool game, well, all right, that game was cool. That guy
Mm,
handled it. That woman handled it just great. Uh, then they're gonna be excited to do it. If they don't know who
yes.
you are,
Why would they pay you?
why are they gonna pay?